Skirt, skirt. Told you we always been ready. I don't need people that's petty, that weigh on me heavy while I'm being steady. I need a record with Felly. We get it bouncing like Betty's, I feel like I'm Nelly. Don't bring the beef like a deli. It's leaving I levy, no sleeping on me like I'm Freddy. Chris Breeze, how I do, hit him with the moves. Left hand step back, ballin' like I'm Coos. All faith, God's plan, you just gotta choose. God slaps, nothing left to prove. Y'all gotta leave me alone. Lately I've been in my zone. Told them no cap like I fitted, but lately the flows have been straight off the dome. I feel like I'm MVP, like my name Patty Mahomes. If it ain't about money, don't hit on my phone, cause lately I've been in my zone.
Hello, welcome to the Jaguars Show, hosted by Ben Carey and Nick Gronerad, combining expert human opinions with cutting-edge simulation models to help you arrive at the best picks each week. Inside Edge Community. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to today's stream. We've got Thursday Night Football, Cincinnati Bengals, Jacksonville Jaguars. It's a game. Is it the most exciting primetime game that we've had this year? No.
Well, okay, no, but it's also not the worst.
No, it's definitely not the worst. I think last week's Thursday game was a less exciting game than this one.
Agreed.
And it turned out to be a really bad football game also. It was dreadful to watch.
It kind of resembled a preseason game.
Yeah, it did. I mean, not necessarily bad quarterback, but timid play calling, quarterback making his first start.
Yeah.
And then injuries for the Panthers last week. Hopefully we get none of that this week. These teams have some potential, at least, to be exciting. I don't know that they've lived up to that billing quite yet this year, but we have the last two first overall picks at quarterback starting for these two teams. Some really solid, young, skill position players. Mm-hmm. Some head coaches who have made some questionable choices. Maybe look a little bit in over their heads, say?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Urban maybe a little in over his head to even come to the NFL. But hey.
Yeah, at least he got rid of Tebow.
Yeah, that
would have just been a joke if he made the final roster.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what's up, everyone in the chat? I see we've got T-Vald, we've got M. Priest, we've got Larry, also File Piety. Thank you. I probably butchered that, but thank you for the follow. So let's get into this game. So game is in Cincinnati. Bengals at home, favored by 7.5. Over under sitting at 46. So we have a game that's got it's past the key numbers, right? Mm-hmm. Sitting at this 7.5, and I know that's kind of an instant flag for a lot of people to just take the plus 7.5. But what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, there's a popular trend floating around on the interwebs.
Oh boy.
Regarding primetime games and overs, and they're 8-1 apparently. So I would just caution to just play an over because it's 8-1 over the last 9 this year.
Well, I mean, it has to win.
Yeah, it's a guarantee.
It's against the law for it to lose.
Right. 46. I think it's appropriate where it's set, but at the same time, I think it's just a little high because specifically the Jags, I mean, they haven't gotten to the red zone a lot, so we don't even really know what they're going to do in the red zone. A lot of turnovers, and the Bengals too. I mean, I still don't know how I feel about that team because I know they're coming off a win, but how good are the Steelers, right? I have no clue. The Vikings game was impressive in week 1, but as we said, I think last week it was a coin flip. They did win an OT. So I don't know. Thursday Night Football. It's always a game where I'm just trying to. Well, I'm actually trying to figure out what's going to go wrong. But yeah, I have my eyes more on the total more than anything because I think the 7.5 is a pretty good number here. Do I agree with it? I guess because if it's 7, right? I mean, everyone's going to be betting the Bengals, and they already have been even at 7.5. So, yeah, I'm indifferent on this game as a whole, to be honest.
So I'm not so indifferent here, and neither is the model. So the model, as you can see, the score is Jacksonville 16.26, Cincinnati 25.41. So that gives us Cincinnati winning by about 9 points and a total between 41 and 42. So a 1.5 difference spread-wise in Cincinnati's favor, and about 4.5 points in favor of the under. So I'm with you. I think this 46 feels too high.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the thing that instantly stands out. I lean Cincinnati. I did bet on Cincinnati to cover this 7.5. I know that we have like our good friend Trent, for example, is on Cincinnati, and now everybody's, as soon as he places a bet, like, oh, you have to fade it. I don't buy into that.
Or you're like, damn it, I'm on that side.
Yeah. I don't buy into that. But I don't think that Jacksonville is going to be able to score consistently.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've scored a little bit this year. I mean, they had last week against Arizona, they had 2 offensive touchdowns. Week before against the Broncos, they had 1 offensive touchdown. And against Houston, but Houston's not a good team. They scored 3 offensive touchdowns. So averaging about 2 a game. 14 points. Tack on a field goal puts him at 17. Larry says 28-17. Model has him at between 16 and 17. I'm liking that 17-ish number for Jacksonville.
Okay.
And
Nick,
maybe even a little bit lower. Maybe more like 14.
Does the Bengals pass defense concern you at all?
No. So I have actually some interesting stats to bring up when it's prop time about the Bengals.
I'm going to need to hear them because I'm not going to lie. I'm a little worried about that.
Yeah, so we'll get into that. But also, I think that this is going to be just a slow grinded out type of game. Again, like I have some stats about the pass defenses, but my thinking here is that this is a game that's not going to have a lot of big plays. That's not going to have a ton of explosive touchdowns. It's going to be a grinded out, run the ball type of game. And I think that with these teams, that's great under territory.
I do lean under, though, Nick. I do.
So you want to, for our leans for this one, do you want to throw up just an under? I think we're split between the side.
Yeah, under, because I do lean Jacksonville 7.5. If it was at 7, my lean probably goes to Cincinnati, but
yeah, I think it's going to be a 10-point game, but a 10-point game can easily turn into a 7-point game.
Yeah.
So I think the Bengals are a very risky pick, even if that's the way that I do lean. So moving into the prop market, let's take a look at passing yards first. So we've got Joe Burrow, 253.5. Trevor Lawrence, 249.5. And again, depending on the book, you'll probably see a yard or two, maybe even up to 5 for the quarterbacks and variance on these.
Mm-hmm.
But do you have any leans on either of these guys?
Yeah, I'm actually kind of scared of what you're going to think about this because I feel like you're gonna bring up something that goes against this now. But my initial lean was Trevor Lawrence over 249.5.
Yeah, But tell me why.
I mean, I think it's the Bengals pass defense, and I'm also bullish on Trevor Lawrence having some success. I mean, I know he hasn't shown it yet, right? And I know you've said, well, until a guy has proven it, you shouldn't bet it, which I understand, right? But also game flow, too. I mean, he's going to have the ball a lot, and he's going to pass it quite a bit. So with all those things, I have to lean over.
Yeah, I suppose. So Lawrence this year, week 1 against Houston, he 28 for 51, 332 yards. So that's over by a mile here. Against Denver in week 2, 14 for 33 for 118 yards. That's a big time under on this number. And then last week against Arizona, 22 for 34 for 219 yards. So you keep saying that you're concerned about Cincinnati's pass defense. Why is that?
I mean, they're giving up a lot of yards.
They are giving up a lot of yards, but how are those yards coming? It's not big plays. It's a lot of garbage time dump downs.
I mean, isn't that what we're expecting and what you're expecting in this one?
I suppose. I mean, but what that is that's slow, right? That's not the recipe for 400 passing yards. That's not a recipe for 300 passing yards, especially early in the game.
Yeah.
So there are a couple defensive backs missing.
Okay, let me ask you this, Nick.
For Cincinnati, yeah.
Is the market up or down on Trevor Lawrence right now?
I think the market is still up on Trevor Lawrence.
I disagree.
No, everybody's expecting him to bounce back. Nobody's writing him off, right?
I don't know. I mean,
is there anybody who's like, oh yeah, Trevor Lawrence is a bust? No, I think everybody wants to bet on the Trevor Lawrence breakout.
I don't know. I'm not sure about that. Because the narrative is that the rookie quarterbacks are 0-9 against the spread, 0-9 straight up. They're struggling. Zach Wilson sucks. Lawrence isn't ready. Fields sucks. It's kind of like the narrative that I'm hearing.
Well, yeah, I mean about those guys, but I don't think that narrative translates as much to Lawrence. So I mean, Lawrence doesn't look bad, right? Lawrence, I'll give Lawrence credit. I mean, he's out there trying to make plays, right? I mean, has he thrown some bad balls? Absolutely, but he's trying. It's not like Zach Wilson where he just looks inept, and it's not like Justin Fields where he gets sacked more than he completes a pass. Like he literally had more time sacked than completions last week. But Lawrence, I mean, he's out there slinging it around. It's like trial by fire. He's making good mistakes from a learning perspective.
This is Superbook, right?
Yeah.
This was at 249 like 2 hours ago.
I think it was at 251 like a minute ago.
Yeah. I mean, I know that's 3 yards when it's this high isn't as significant as if it were. We always talk about this, but if it was like 32 to 35. But yeah, it's moving up. Maybe the market is higher on Lawrence than I thought. But Nick, regardless, I mean, I don't think I can get talked out of this under or this over and playing under.
I'm not advocating for an under, but I think that the over is the worst play between the two. I don't have any money on this either way.
Yeah.
But I think the under is the way to go.
Okay, that's fair. What about Burrow?
So Burrow, his number is sitting at 256.5 on Super Bowl right now. So So the model also has both of these guys under, for whatever that's worth.
Mm-hmm.
Burrow, I don't know about Burrow here.
Yeah.
I think it's a Joe Mixon game.
Okay.
I mean, Cincinnati has been a run-first team in every game this year. Against Minnesota, 36 runs to 27 passes. Against Chicago, 20 runs in a game that they lost, 20 runs to 30 passes. And then against Pittsburgh, 24 runs to 18 passes. And if he only throws the ball 18 times, or even 25 times, I mean, this doesn't go over.
Mm-hmm. And I will say one thing, though, Nick. I've had several people message me, and they're like, man, your quarterback props for yardage have been pretty on point. I don't know if it's any more so than other positions, but I will say I've had a lot of people say, hey, these have been pretty accurate. So
I mean, that's good.
Throw that out there.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining.
Do my best.
I'm like, sweet.
Yeah.
Well, wait, what's Burrow's number out again?
256 and a half.
Right there. Okay. Yeah, so pretty close here.
Mm-hmm. So something that I think is interesting here that I haven't brought up yet in regards to these props is both of these teams have trailed time of possession wise in every game that they've played.
Interesting.
And obviously you can't have a game where both teams trail in time of possession.
No.
So if we're expecting Cincinnati to come out on top here, I think it's going to be Cincinnati that has that extra time of possession boost.
Mm-hmm.
This number just went up another yard. Also, Lawrence has gone down 2 yards while we've been sitting here waiting.
So now it's at 250 again?
250 again, yeah.
Funny. That's actually kind of odd.
They're just playing with us.
Yeah. Do you like it here? Do you like it there?
Mm-hmm. There's a nice middle opportunity.
You like over, Ben? Haha, 260. Haha. Yeah, try me.
Yeah, these are flying all over the place. Neff says, first time tuning in, but I like the stream. Glad to have you here.
Thanks.
Glad you're
Thank
enjoying
you.
the content. We appreciate
Sundays
that.
are even better.
Yeah, Sunday. I mean, it's just
We have
different flavors, right?
We have more games. Yeah.
Thursdays and Mondays you get the deep dive into one game, and then Sundays you get the
It's a
surface
little
level for
I
every game.
actually love how we do it. It's a different perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if we went through every game like this, we'd have to start at 5 a.m.
Well, yeah, we'd have to start on Saturday. Get tired.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyways, we probably can move on here. We actually went pretty deep with these.
Yeah, that's good though. That's what we're here for. Let's see. I like PointsBet interface a little more, so gonna move back over here. Oh, they don't have the yards props up. That's sad. So rushing prop wise, on the quarterback end of things, we've got Joe Burrow over under 8.5.
10.5 for
Wait, are the? Oh, I guess I just don't have a Lawrence number. Oh, he's right above
10.5, right?
8.5 for Burrow, 19.5 for Lawrence.
Oh yeah, his longest was 10.5. I got those two mixed up.
For who?
For Lawrence. It's kind of interesting, right?
That is weird.
Yeah, but it's almost like it's almost game script, right? He's gonna roll out and run for 11 yards. That could be one of two rushes or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, he has carried the ball. So 27 yards last week, long of 10. And then a 10 and 11 yard carry against Denver.
Yeah. Those numbers are tough. I mean, someone just said 14.5. It opened there. I can see why people play an over, but
yeah. I love me a good quarterback rushing number, but I think that both of these are spots to stay away from.
Mm-hmm.
As far as running backs are concerned, we have Joe Mixon at 89.5, and we've got James Robinson at 61.5. So I have pretty strong opinions about both of these.
Well, that's good because I don't have many opinions with either of these. I looked at them and I was like, I really don't have a take here, so I'm glad you have a good opinion.
So for James Robinson, I like this under quite a bit. I think for a couple of reasons. So one, Jacksonville is going to likely be behind, which means ball in the air. Two, Cincinnati's run defense has been extremely good. Week 1, Dalvin Cook, 20 carries for 61 yards. It's like 3 yards per carry and under this number. And Dalvin Cook is a great back, one of the best in the league. Week 2, David Montgomery had the exact same stat line, 20 carries for 61 yards. So again, 3 yards per carry from a really good back and under this number. Last week, Najee Harris, Pittsburgh was in pass mode last week. They threw the ball 58 times, but Harris, 14 carries for 40 yards. That's under 3 yards per carry. And averaging that all out, you get basically exactly 3 yards per carry across 3 weeks to 3 really good running backs. And also included in this are a couple pretty big runs. I mean, Cook had almost a third of his yards on 1 carry. Harris had half of his yards on 1 carry. Montgomery had a long of 11, which isn't that much. So if you take out those big explosive runs, you're down in like 2.5 yards per carry. And are we expecting Robinson to get 15 carries, 20 carries here? No.
Probably not, unless they're up, and that's probably unlikely.
Yeah, I mean, he had 5 carries in week 1. He had 11 carries in week 2. He had 15 carries last week. But I think 15 is basically the cap again this week. And 15 carries, I think he goes under this number.
I'm not going to disagree with that.
Yeah, also the model has him at 9 carries for 36 yards.
So that's more or less giving him an average of 4 yards.
Yeah, it's like a little under 4 yards per carry.
So if he has 15,
he goes under still.
yeah, see, that just seems like a lot. What's his most highest carry attempts on the season?
15.
And that was
last week. Model doesn't have Hyde out, although we can even just take Carlos Hyde's numbers
19 yards
and add them to Robinson. 5 more attempts for 19 more yards, and it still goes
50,
under. I didn't see the news for Hyde being out until it was too late. It takes like 2 hours to simulate a game, or to do the thousands of simulations for each game. So I wasn't able to run it with Hyde out.
Yeah, but even if you take those 5 attempts, tack them on 14, that's still giving us 50 yards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Robinson, unless he breaks a 50-yard run, he's going to be under 4 yards per carry.
Yeah.
So I still think the 61.5 is too high.
I like it.
And I did bet that. I did put money on that under.
Yeah.
On the flip side, Joe Mixon, I also have strong opinions about this one.
Real quick, I almost like the under 14.5 carries more.
I don't want to mess with Urban Meyer's decision making.
Yeah,
that seems pretty unhandicapable.
Yeah,
he's just in Narnia doing his own thing.
So you said earlier, Mixon. It's a Mixon game. Tell us why.
I think it's a Mixon game. So Mixon has been getting a lot of carries. He's kind of quietly second in the league in rushing yards this year, behind just Derrick Henry. I don't know if a lot of people knew that or not. In week 1, Mixon had 29 carries for 127 yards. In week 2, Mixon had 20 carries for only 69 yards, but that's against a really solid Chicago run defense. And then in week 3, 18 carries, 90 yards against Pittsburgh. And again, this is coming in a game. So the 18 carries for 90 yards, Cincinnati had the ball for less than 25 minutes. 20 carries for 69 yards against Chicago. They had the ball for 28 and a half minutes. Against Minnesota, the 29 carries, 127 yards. That was in an overtime game, but they still had the ball for less than half of the game. Mm-hmm. Like I said before, I'm expecting Cincinnati to be the team that sees a big increase in time of possession. I think that they'll have the ball 32, 33 minutes out of the 60. And I think Mixon gets 25 carries. And if he gets 25 carries, you only need 4 yards per carry to go over this and have quite a bit of wiggle room. And it's not like Jacksonville's run D is all that great. I mean, Denver had success running against them. Arizona had a decent amount of success. James Conner did at least. And then on Houston, I mean, Houston's bad, but Mark Ingram was decent. Mm-hmm. This just, as we're talking, I swear, Superbook is watching us because this just went up 3 yards as I was talking about the over.
That's funny, man.
So that's kind of hilarious.
Well, was that going to be your best bet?
No, that was not going to be my best bet.
Because I'm like, now you got to tack it on or tack those 3 on and give it out at 92.5.
Mm-hmm. No, but I think even at 92.5, I still lean over here. Mm-hmm. It's a lot for running back, but I think he's going to have a lot of carries. And I think he'll be effective with those carries. So
I like it.
Is Trent has his stream at the same time? So maybe it's not us. Maybe Trent said Mixon under. And then all the action came in on the over. So that's why it went up. Could be that. So let's take a look at receiving props. Let's see, do they have these up? No, they don't yet. Actually, I'm going to use DraftKings.
Yep, we got to find that mole.
Holding pattern.
Who's the mole?
All right. So we got a lot of guys. Again, do I think Mixon breaks 100? I'd probably say about even money that Mixon goes over 100. And thank you for the follow, Scoble. Appreciate that.
Thanks.
I put Mixon in like the 95 to 100 range. Mm-hmm. So receiving wise, which team do you want to look at first, Jacksonville or Cincy?
Let's look at Jacksonville.
All right. And Samu, thank you for the follow as well. Appreciate that.
Thank you, sir. Or ma'am.
Yeah. We're not here to make any assumptions.
Nope.
So
I mean, Paul's modeling company, we learned our lesson.
Mm-hmm. Well, what kind of modeling is it?
I don't know if we still... Do we know?
Yeah, he's like it's houses. Model homes.
Houses. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Paul. Yeah, houses.
We asked him and he said that. It was a long time ago.
Well, you know what? Never mind.
All right. So, Jacksonville receiving props. We have Dan Arnold over under 13.5. DJ Chark over under 52.5.
Nick Special, Dan Arnold.
Jacob Hollister over under 9.5. James Robinson over under 25.5. Laviska Shenault over under 40.5. Marvin Jones over under 62.5. So you wanted to look at Jacksonville first. So
yeah, let's talk about Jacksonville. So Marvin Jones, he's their clear cut number one. I think that's pretty apparent. Then you got Shenault and Chark. So we have Shenault at 40.5, and then Chark's at 48.5.
I'm seeing on DraftKings Chark at 52.5. Although again, depending on the book, you might see different numbers.
Yeah, or depending in 2 minutes.
Yeah, after we start talking about one side,
yeah,
you'll see a different number.
So here's my dilemma / take. I personally think DJ Chark and Chenault should be within 1 to 2 yards of each other. Now, is Chark too high or is Chenault too low? And do you even agree with me, Nick?
Yeah, I agree with you. And I actually did place a bet on one of these players. But I want you to tell me where you're at first.
So I'm at Chenault over 40.5.
All right, and the bet that I placed is actually Chark's under.
Okay. Well,
So-
I guess we're aligned.
Yeah, so we're aligned. We a similar train of thought. So why are you on Chenault's under? I know Chenault, Colorado boy, he's your boy.
Yeah. And you know what? Surprisingly, I haven't bet his over all year. So it would be one thing if I come on every stream and I'm like, oh, yeah, Chenault over. Because then you're like, all right, well, what does this mean, right?
Yeah. So why is this Chenault's week to go over 40.5 receiving yards?
Yeah. So my reasoning here is in week 1 and week 2, I felt like the Jags were really trying to get him the ball. And also when he's in, he gets a fair amount of targets. Now what happened in week 3 is he played his lowest snaps of the season, but he also had a decent amount of targets for when he was on the field, even though I believe it was 5.
He had 4 catches on 4 targets last
4.
week.
Oh, he was 4 for 4.
Yep.
So I just feel like at this number, Nick, with the game script, game flow in mind, and Cincinnati, like you said, giving up. Well, I guess it was more. I said it, and then you said, "Oh, it's going to be more garbage time." But the one thing that Cincinnati potentially could do, and that kind of plays in the Jacksonville's favor, is if they do those short dink dunk down passes. Chenault is susceptible to breaking one of those, I would say, just by his physicality. So I'm almost feeling that, hey, if we can just get him the ball, he could break one. I'm not saying he's gonna go for 30, 40 yards, but if he can get a 20-yard reception, you're feeling pretty good about that. So that's my thinking here. I think 4.5. I think the line is at 4.5. I think 5 catches is pretty doable in this one. And I think 5 for like 45 yards seems like a pretty reasonable stat line in this one. And that would have him hitting over. So that's kind of my take there.
Yeah, so the model has Chenault not at that mark, but I think that's fine. I'm not. Yeah. I don't disagree with your Chenault pick, despite what the model says.
Mm-hmm. But I can see why the model says that, because judging off last week, though, he did see that drop from 9 targets to 7 to 4.
Mm-hmm.
So I can understand, I guess. So why Chark under?
So here's why I like the Chark under. So Cincinnati has done a good job at preventing big plays this year. So they are missing a couple defensive backs, which makes this a little bit more questionable. Mm-hmm. But the longest passes that they've allowed in each game. So there was a 34-yarder to Justin Jefferson, the longest that they allowed on 49 pass attempts against Minnesota. There was a 21-yarder to Darnell Mooney, the most that they allowed on 24 pass attempts against Chicago. And there was a 29-yarder to Chase Claypool, which was the longest that they allowed against Pittsburgh on 58 pass attempts. So Chark, he gets a lot of targets. He's had 22 targets this year. But on those, he's only got 7 catches. And you know why? Is because the average depth of target for DJ Chark this year So how far down the field he is from the line of scrimmage? 16.5 yards. That's average.
Yeah.
So when Lawrence is going for Chark, it's the home run shot, which makes sense because that's kind of the type of player that Chark is.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the only way that he goes over this number, this 52.5 number, is if he hits one of those. Like, he's going to have to pick up 40, 50 yards on one play. And Cincinnati's defense has done a good job this year against some really, really talented wide receivers. I mean, Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen are excellent receivers. Allen Robinson, I mean, they didn't really have anybody to throw him the ball, but he's a great receiver. And Chase Claypool, fantastic deep threat himself for Pittsburgh. And none of those guys broke a huge play. And those are better receivers and better quarterbacks. So I don't think Chark is going to have reception volume to go over this number, and I don't think that he's going to have that one big play either.
I like it. That makes a lot of sense. Though, and I think Chenault, his over and this under are probably correlated pretty well.
Yeah, definitely.
Because if Chark isn't getting those looks right, and they're doing a good job of covering him, Chenault's going to get a lot of the. Because do you have Chenault's average depth?
Yes, 4.4.
I'm going to guess. What is it?
4.4 yards.
Oh my gosh! I was going to guess like 7. That's low. Yeah, because he runs a lot of those crossing routes, a lot of bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting. What do you use for those numbers? What resource?
They're on the player pages on Pro Football Reference.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's
the advanced rushing and receiving.
Yeah, that's a good stat to look at.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. And here is what the model says for Chark. And you can see it. It's seeing this lots of targets but not a lot of catches. Mm-hmm. 6.12 targets, a little under 3 catches for 33 yards for Chark.
Cool.
So there's another guy on Jacksonville that I really like.
Dan Arnold?
No, not Dan Arnold. It's actually James Robinson.
Ooh.
So his number is skyrocketing at the moment. I played this at 22.5 like an hour ago.
Yeah,
or no, 21.5 like an hour ago. I'm seeing a 26.5 now on DraftKings. 26.5 on Superbook. PointsBet has it at 26.5 also. So this actually was going to be my favorite play if it was still at 21.5, but that number is gone. I still really like this though. So it's basically the same deal as Chenault, just a different guy. It's the dink and dunk passes. Mm-hmm. Robinson has been involved in the passing attack. 3 catches on 6 targets for 29 yards in week 1. 3 catches on 3 targets for 17 yards in week 2. And then last week, 6 catches on 6 targets for 46 yards. So 3, 6, and 6 targets for him. And Cincinnati is a team that is very happy to allow passes to running backs. So it's a very important thing, I think, with these running back receiving props to look at is, does the defense make it a point of emphasis to try and take this out of the equation or not? Mm-hmm. And for Cincinnati, it's a does not. Dalvin Cook and Amir Abdullah and Alex Madison combined for 10 targets in week 1. In week 2, the Bears gave David Montgomery 4 targets and Damian Williams another 3 targets. And then last week, Najee Harris had 19 targets, which is ridiculous. But
yeah, that's I was looking at that the other day, and I'm like, is that a typo? Because I didn't watch the game.
Mm-hmm. But I think what this shows is that if Cincinnati is ahead, they're very happy to allow these types of passes to the backs. Right? You don't get 19 targets to running back without the defensive scheme playing into it. It's like an intentional not adjusting to it.
And especially a guy like Trevor Lawrence coming off a interception type game. It's just one of those type of outlooks where, hey, I can dump it down versus try to force something, and it makes a lot of sense because I think Robinson is probably going to get, I'm going to guess, Nick, five receptions. Is that high?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think
that's doable.
Yeah, a model has about 6.5 targets, 4.5 receptions. I think in that 4 or 5 reception range.
Yeah, totally.
Is a very reasonable place to start, and there's a ton of upside on that. So yeah, that's a play that I like a lot. On the Bengals side, spent a lot of time talking about Jacksonville receiving. Anybody on the Bengals side that you're interested in? I know Jamar Chase is a kind of popular guy right now.
Okay, here's my take on Chase.
This number's shooting up too.
I really do believe it's a under or fade.
I'm completely with you.
Because it's just too high. We've talked about this, Nick. It's the books could set this at 65, 70, 74, and they're still going to get significant action on the over. So why would you not play it at 74?
Yeah.
Right?
And this moved up too. This was, I think, 67.5.
Yeah.
Like an hour ago.
Yeah. And Nick, say it again about the reference point. What we were basically saying.
I'm not really sure what you're getting at.
I'll say it. No, it's essentially that if you're just thinking overs on some of these guys and you don't have any reference to go off of.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're going in blind.
Yeah. So, yeah, what Ben is saying, like what I say all the time, if it's important to have a number in mind and not just think, I'm going to bet Jamar Chase is over before you see the number. Because that's how you trap yourself into a bad number.
Yeah. Yep. And even if you tell yourself, like, oh, well, no, but you're lying. Sometimes you're lying to yourself. When you see the number, you're like, oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah, like there's no such thing as an over game or an under game without the context of a number. And there's no such thing as an over prop or an under prop without the correct number attached to it. So you can't think in terms of this guy's going to go over, that guy's going to go under, this game's going to go over, that game's going to go under.
Man, I kind of like this. Like, I know I just said it's a fade or under, and I wasn't even going to consider playing the under, but 74, I think I saw it at 71 earlier today.
I think I'm actually going to place this under.
Yeah. Man, that's wild. That's so high. All right, well, then we have to talk about the other pass catchers because
somebody's got to get the yards. Over. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we've got CJ Uzoma, tight end at 20.5. We've got Joe Mixon at 19.5. And Larry was saying earlier that the Joe Mixon total yards might be a better play. I think I like just the rushing yards, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
We've got Tyler Boyd over under 61.5. And then I know on DraftKings I had a couple other guys, including one that I am a little interested in. Auden Tate over under 20.5. Mike Thomas over under 11.5. So who is Cincy wide receiver 3? Any relevance? Yes, there is some relevance. So I think the number 3 guy right now is Tate. And I think that Thomas is the number 4. So Auden Tate last year had a couple huge games when Tyler, I think, was it Boyd was out or Higgins was out?
Higgins was out.
Higgins out?
Yeah.
So, of course, there's no Jamar Chase last year. But Tate had a 65-yard game on 7 catches. I think in prior years he's also had some big games with receiver injuries. He's a big guy. He's 6'5", 230. Back in 2019, he had 3 games with 10-plus targets, I think, with Boyd out. Mm-hmm. So I think that this number at 20.5 for Tate is actually a quite nice spot to take an over.
Yeah.
He played a lot of snaps last week. He played 57% of the snaps against Pittsburgh, but he only got 1 target. I think that the target volume is going to increase this week, especially as teams key in a little bit more on Chase. Boyd running in the slot. Tate is going to be the guy on the outside, on the other side, opposite of Chase. I think that Auden Tate is in a nice spot to pick up 3 or 4 targets today.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this number goes over.
Tyler Boyd.
Tyler Boyd.
That would be an over for me if I were to play an over-under for him, if that makes sense. I was just looking at it because I think there's going to be a lot of people curious, and I think an over at that number isn't that because he's going to see the majority of the targets. Jamar Chase hasn't really seen as much volume.
No, he hasn't.
But he does have a higher average catch yardage metric than a guy like Boyd. I would say.
Yeah,
right?
Of course. I think it's basically the same thing as what we were talking about on the Jaguars between Chark and Chenault.
Yeah.
Boyd runs out of the slot. Chase is the deep threat. So Chase's average distance of target, 16.5 yards. So they're looking to target him down the field. And then Tyler Boyd, slot receiver, average distance of target, 6.8 yards. Mm-hmm.
Nick,
go ahead.
One last thing, even further. I know Jamar Chase and Trevor Lawrence Burrow played together in college, but I still think that Burrow likes Boyd as his number 1 target. I really do.
Yeah. I mean,
it's tough, right?
The slot receiver, he's like the safe guy.
Yeah.
So one point of concern. Well, I guess not actually. I think we should talk about this. So, how do the Jaguars perform against slot receivers? So, week 1, Danny Amendola for Houston, 5 catches on 5 targets for 34 yards and a touchdown. Who's the slot guy for Denver?
In that game, Judy was out, huh? So it was probably Hamler.
Yeah, so KJ Hamler, 3 targets, 1 catch, 5 yards.
Yeah, I just don't know if that's that's all we can really go off of.
Yeah. And last week, Christian Kirk on Arizona, 8 targets, 7 catches, 104 yards. So up and down and in the middle. Yeah. So not a whole lot to see there. But in general, it is something that's useful to look at. So like against Philly, for example, slot receiver overs are a terrible play because they have Darius Slay covering slot receivers. But yeah, I think Boyd could be a good look here. Mm-hmm. Anything else that you want to take a peek at?
Nick, are you sure you don't want to talk about Dan Arnold?
We can talk about Dan Arnold.
Someone said, I don't know where it went.
Arnold over 1.5 receptions, plus 115.
God, that's so easy.
Yeah, it's just a concern of new guy in the offense, right? Like, is he going to get a full set of snaps? Because I mean, they have given a lot of targets to tight ends. Hollister last week had 6 targets, and Luke Farrell had a target. Against Denver, James O'Shaughnessy had a target. Farrell had 2 targets. Manhurts had a target. Mm-hmm. They've had a lot of tight ends this year. A lot of injuries. And then O'Shaughnessy and Manhurts combined for 9 targets in week 1. And again, like it's a young quarterback. You look for those safe options. That's your slot receiver, that's your running back, and that's the tight end. Mm-hmm. So I don't hate the idea of the Arnold receptions, and I don't dislike the idea of Arnold's receiving over. I also don't hate the idea of Hollister's receiving over at 9.5. Although I think it feels a bit of a degenerate play.
Mm-hmm. It does. But
sometimes those are the best ones.
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes they're the worst ones.
Wait, are there 2 Dan Arnolds?
No, Dan Arnold got traded this week.
That's why.
Yes.
It's funny because... Let's see. Oh, yeah, that is right. Okay. I was so confused. I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, we're degenerates, but we're smart degenerates.
Yeah.
We're sustainable degenerates.
Sustainable degenerates. I like that.
We're profitable degenerates. We're
the Dan Arnold
Ellen degenerates.
It is risky.
It is risky.
Shall we? Oh yeah, of course, Darnold to Arnold. That's why I was like, wait, is there a second Dan Arnold?
Yeah, no.
What are the chances?
We lost the Darnold to Arnold, which makes me sad. But it be like that sometimes.
They can see each other in the Super Bowl. Not this year.
All right, is it time to take a peek at our favorite type of prop, the touchdown prop?
Mm-hmm. Dan Arnold.
Dan Arnold.
Speaking of Dan Arnold.
So anytime touchdown scorer odds, Joe Mixon, not so surprisingly, got the highest odds, minus or lowest odds, or whatever you want to call it, minus 175. Jamar Chase, plus 100. He scored in every game this year, so not surprising to see him there. I think that's got to be a really popular play.
Want to know how popular it is, Nick?
Yeah, is it the most popular play?
Yeah. Okay. PointsBet is showing that 51% of the bet count. Wait, what? What is that imply? It's not saying that 51% of the anytime touchdown scores are on Chase. What would 51% of the bet count mean?
51% of every bet placed on tonight's game was a Jamar Chase touchdown.
No, but I'm adding Mixon, and then it doesn't add up to 100. So I'm curious, like percent of bet count 51. What would that?
I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, maybe that's wrong because it's not yes no.
Yeah, no, there's no option.
Yeah, so I have to figure that out. But yeah, it's at the top. So whatever the actual number is, and no surprise, like you said, he's scoring every game.
It's not sustainable at all.
No. Boyd, I wish it was closer to plus 200, but it isn't, of course. So that's that.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be a pretty low-scoring game. I like the under here. I don't like the numbers that I'm seeing on these touchdown props. Mm-hmm. Cincinnati defense.
Had to throw that in there.
I just get like the same odds as Dan Arnold.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think as always, we're going to stay away from the touchdown props.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that we might have missed that you want to come back to, or anybody in the chat have any other things to talk about? Because if not, we're going to go ahead and hop into our favorite bets of the day. So, Ben, start us off. What is your best bet for tonight's game?
My best bet is Laviska Shenault Jr. over 40.5 receiving yards.
I dig it. They have a lot of juniors. Is that not weird to you?
Well, I just didn't want to be like Laviska Shenault and someone's going to be like, oh, you didn't say junior.
But really though, right? So Chenault is junior, Chark is junior, and Jones is junior. Their top 3 receivers are all junior.
Trevor Lawrence Jr.
James Robinson Jr., Dan Arnold Jr.
Dan Arnold Sr. What a guy.
This is Dan Arnold Sr.
What a guy.
We did go over Robinson rush yards. We'll come back to that in a second.
Yeah. Okay.
So I have to think for a second.
I know why you're thinking.
So I loved it was going to be the Robinson receiving over, but that number moved up 5 yards.
Yeah, that's significant. That's what, like a move of.
It was like a 20 to 25% increase.
Yeah, that's significant.
I still like the over, but I can't justify it being my favorite bet.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see here. I'm actually gonna do this. Ready? I'm just gonna go Joe Mixon over 88.5 rushing yards as my favorite bet for tonight's game.
Shout out Sooners.
Shout out Sooners.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah. Robinson rushing yards. So we kind of like the under, especially at 61.5.
Mm-hmm.
So the rationale real quick is that Dalvin Cook, better back in a better offense, had 20 carries for 61 yards. So like 3 yards per carry under this number. David Montgomery, probably similarly skilled back, I would say. 20 carries for 61 yards, the exact same stat line as Cook. So again, like 3 yards per carry and under this number. And Najee Harris, 14 carries for 40 yards. Under 3 yards per carry and under this number. And all of those guys, so Harris for Pittsburgh, Montgomery for Chicago, and Cook for Minnesota, all of those teams had higher time of possession than Cincinnati did in those games. And I think Cincinnati's going to have better possession in this game than they have in previous weeks, just because of Jacksonville's offensive inconsistencies.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Robinson needs 15 to 20 carries to have a shot at this number, and I don't think he gets it. I think 15 is kind of the upside for his carries.
Mm. And Nick, I failed to mention this when we brought up Hyde being out. So it looks like the backup is Ogunbowale. I remember him from Wisconsin. Hopefully I didn't butcher his name too bad. But it sounds like he's going to see some time. I mean, it's the only other back they have.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to get some carries.
Yeah. So I think sometimes psychologically this is something bettors do, and they don't even know they're doing it. When they see, oh, well, Hyde's out, Robinson's the only listed prop. Who else is going to, someone's got to get those yards. It's going to be Robinson. Hyde's out, but just don't forget that. It's an unknown, right? Mm-hmm. It's kind of an unknown, but
Stream froze for my favorite pick. So favorite picks that we had, Ben had Laviska Shenault Jr.
Yes.
Over 40.5 receiving yards, and I had Joe Mixon over 88.5 rushing yards.
Also, I feel bad making a joke about Laviska Shenault Sr. because his dad did pass away when he was a kid.
Oh.
So well, sorry to put a damper there, but I knew that. But anyways, that's why he wears dreads, by the way. Fun fact.
Interesting.
In memory of his dad. So I know Quinn's going to like that pick, though.
The Shenault pick?
He's a buff.
He's a buff.
I don't know. Maybe his Twitch.
possible.
Maybe it was us.
I'm showing no stream quality issue notifications, but it is possible that it froze. And
The favorite pick of the day is...
yeah, it's just a tease, right?
Yeah.
We just say what the numbers are, and we give absolutely no insight.
Yeah. It's one of these two players. Hopefully you guessed the right one.
So my favorite bet tonight is that Robinson will go either over or under 61.5. I guarantee that's going to happen.
Yeah, that's bold, Nick.
Yeah, it's a bold pick, but I mean sometimes we have to put ourselves out there like that. Right? Scared money don't make money.
Yeah. Who's going to win the game? The team that has the most points at the end of the game will be the winner. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. All right. I think I'm ready to flip this game on. As always, guys, hop on into the Discord. If you're frozen, turn on your heat.
You're still frozen? Yeah, no, I have the stream up on my screen. And
yeah, I actually do too. It's.
I think we're looking okay.
Pay your
having
internet bill.
Yeah, you can also try lowering the quality if you're having issues. So we recently upped the stream to 1080p because we have the capabilities to do that. And then some people on their end don't have the ability to watch in 1080p. Mm-hmm. So you can lower the stream quality if you're having stream issues. Discord link. Okay. Bam. There is the Discord.
Also, have you ever done this, Nick, where you bet the wrong side of a bet and then you have to bet the other side?
Yes. Well, no, you don't have to bet the other side. You just deal with your mistake and hope that your handicap was wrong.
I just did.
What did you do?
Well, earlier today, it was earlier. I bet the under for LaVisca on accident.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I love it when the premium picks go out.
Someone bets
and then people bet the opposite side on accident.
And they're like, "Oh no, I thought you said under."
Uh-huh.
Like,
yeah, they just misread it.
Yeah. But then it's so funny when it hits, and then you're like, "Well,
yeah,
whatever."
T-Vault says it's crispy. Yeah, the stream is super crispy, except that my camera's... This is the second time it's happened. It's not focusing on me correctly.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. Maybe I need to turn off the lights behind me. Maybe that's causing a problem.
No, I don't think that would be the issue.
I don't know. Let's try and block that out. I don't know. Okay. Turn this light on. Oh, God, that's terrible. Let's not do that.
Wait, what was Mixon's number at?
88.5.
Okay, 88. Okay.
That actually solved the problem.
What's the other light?
I don't know. Whatever I did, my camera is focused on me now.
Nice.
So yeah, I think that wraps up the stream. We appreciate all of you being here, as always. Ben will be on tomorrow at 4 o'clock Eastern, I believe, with Chase Howell for some college football discussion. Ben,
college has been hot too, guys.
College has been on fire.
It's funny, people like Chase and even with Rob, we're breaking down these games, and it happens to a T, and I'm like, I hope people are tuning into this.
Oh, I tune into them.
Yeah.
89. I still like it at 89.5. I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I think up to 95.5 or so, I'd bet the over for Mixon.
Little Caesars Pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? They could have a book.
They might.
Yeah. Can I get a large pepperoni with a side of Mixon's over?
Yeah. Can you mix in some over?
They're like, we have a special where you can get that for $80.
Yeah.
80 yards. If you buy a large pepperoni pizza.
Place a $20 bet, get a free large pizza.
Hey, man, it wouldn't shock me.
That actually sounds great.
Buffalo Wild Wings, they might start doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, alrighty, I'm going to hop off. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, and good luck, as always, with the bets.
See ya.